TD Ryan Unleashed is brought to you by Scott Zak, your State Farm insurance agent. Scott can help you save money bundling your home and auto insurance. Call 815-748-3101 or stop by at 2587 Sycamore Road, Suite D in DeKalb. Like a good neighbor, Scott Zak and State Farm are there. Pizza Villa, pizza, pasta, sandwiches, and more at 824 West Lincoln Highway in DeKalb. For delivery or pickup, call 815-758-8116 or go to pizzavilla.com. My Insurance Guys in Sycamore, family-owned, local, reliable. My Insurance Guys cover Medicare to auto and everything in between. Call us in Sycamore at 815-899-0950. My Insurance Guy, business, auto, home, life, and health at myinsuranceguy.com. And Eldercare Services of DeKalb County, safe, secure, and supported, helping you stay at home where you want to be. Call 815-758-6550 or stop in at 1701 East Lincoln Highway in DeKalb or on the web at ecsdekalb.org. And welcome into TD Ryan Unleashed News Podcast number 11. Honored and privileged with our special guest here today. He is the Communications and Engagement Manager for the City of DeKalb. Also my former partner on WLBK. It's Scott Zak joining us. Scott, how you doing, my friend?
Good to be here.
Dare I say the legend, Scott Zak, or is that too much?
That's too much.
That's too much. All right.
I don't like this recording thing. That's weird about podcasts, is that it like lives in infamy.
It is.
I remember being on LBK and like sometimes Dan's here too, and he can. The great thing was we did not record everything at the station. So there were a couple times where I probably said something a little too far, and then you could just go, it's in the ether. As long as nobody caught that and nobody makes a stink about it, it's gone. But that's not with podcasts. It's you record it and then it sits there to live forever.
We are going to introduce Dan Lynch, the oak tree of the Newscast broadcast, but I want to mention that something Scott did to me years ago. I had interviewed a girl, and I had said, you have an amazing body of work. I was talking about the accumulation of some books she's written. And of course, Scott took out that part and said, well, listen, you have an amazing body. And I don't think I forgot about that. But now you're the Communications and Engagement Manager, Scott. What does that mean for the City of DeKalb? What exactly are you doing?
My job's my job's three parts. Communications. Well, FOIA is the primary thing. I'm the FOIA officer, so that kind of goes in.
For folks who don't know, that's Freedom of Information Act, right?
Yeah, so that's the FOIA. So that's kind of communication. It's a way to get people information. Then I do communications things for the city, the social media page, the newsletter, and then I do commissions, specifically the Enhancement Commission, which does a lot of the beautification projects, and then our Environmental Commission that does a lot of sustainability initiatives. And that's the community engagement, because those are all volunteers from the community, the residents, and it's a chance for the city to get public input on different initiatives. So that's community engagement. We do community engagement through communication, so it fits together. And it's not something that just the city of DeKalb, it's a growing sector within city government. You see a lot of, sometimes you're just communications, sometimes you're community engagement, sometimes you're both. So
much like in radio, you're wearing many hats, are you not, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Okay, because I want to point out to people, just for the month of June, the city of DeKalb had a total of 185 FOIA requests. Now, 30 of those for the city, Scott, and 187 were for the police. So you're saying the police report is separate then? They have people request that through the police department?
Yeah, so when you do a FOIA, it either goes to folks at, well, let's, just to simplify, it either goes to City Hall or goes to police. So if you're looking for police records, they handle their own. Some of their stuff, their number's higher because some of the stuff is very routine. I want an accident report, I want a police report. But then some of their stuff is the most, takes the most time. Because with the advent of dashboard cams and body cams, sometimes people will say, I want the details on this arrest and I want all the dash cam and all the body cam. So, and that all has to be reviewed because if there's a third party, you have to blur or black out their faces, or if somebody's name, a third party's name said, you have to bleep that out.
Oh, wow.
So it's not just, practice of like, okay, send them that file. You have to review all of it.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up later because, again, we're going to get to the news here in just a second. But this is from the DeKalb County Housing Authority FOIA request. And they say the public record, including records, reports, forms, writings, letters, memorandas, books, papers, maps, photographs, cards, tapes, recording, electronic data processing records, electronic communications, recorded information, and all other documentary material pertaining to the transaction of public business, regardless of physical form or characteristics. So do you have to do all those different forms?
Basically any anything.
Like you
we
said,
have
the
at-
dash cam or the
Yeah, anything we have at the city, whether it's a a Word document, whether it's a piece of paper, whether it's a text message, whether it's I don't know if I said email, whether it's a video.
Okay,
Today I went in,
tapes, recording electronic data processing records too, right?
whatever that is. I think that's an antiquated term, but basically anything that we record, you have a right to as a citizen to get a copy of it. So I went and took pictures of fire engines today. You could do a FOIA saying, I saw Scott Zak standing next to Husky Stadium taking pictures of fire engines. I want a copy of those fire engines.
Okay, if I had too much free time on my hands.
So yeah, you have a right.
Bring us the news there, my friend. If you FOIA'd a lot when you were newsmanning back in the day?
Depends on the agency. This market was interested, like Sycamore PD, there's a FOIA, relegated FOIA email,
Okay.
as opposed to maybe a Scott Zak contact. In DeKalb, boy, the DA's office, or the state attorney's office, they're very helpful with me. I mean, they were very forthcoming.
Okay, Scott, you're nodding, you're great.
This is a point I bring up because when I first started the job, everybody's like, oh, the tides are turned. Now we got our revenge. There's this thought that reporters, dump FOIAs on cities and police departments. My always kind of like, no, not really. I didn't use. If you're a reporter, especially as me and Dan, he is and I was. If you're doing daily news, you don't want to wait 5 days to get
Right, because they have 5 days up until
so I don't want. I mean, and they're a public official, and you call up the state's attorney and say, I want you to comment on this. I don't want to dig through 500 emails to look for your rationale behind it and say, oh, I found the FOIA. Just ask them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I'd like to commend you both because a lot of it is the relationships you have with people, and you guys both made good relationship with that and then paid off with the information, didn't it?
Yeah, you build up that trust.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're not going to have a newscast.
All right, what do you got for news, Dan?
Local authorities are investigating an apparent shooting that happened Wednesday, August 13th. So that was yesterday. DeKalb police issued an alert just after noon exhorting people to avoid North 10th between East Lincoln Highway and East Hillcrest. According to scanner chatter, which is pretty much all I have at this point, at around 11:45 a.m., 2 callers reported hearing about 4 shots near Lincoln and 10th. One caller snapped a photo of a male who was heading south on a bicycle on 10th Street. Another witness said there were a group of juveniles in the area. Also, shell casings were located in the area, according to police. But more info is forthcoming from DeKalb PD.
Now, that is literally 4 blocks from my house, so I mean, I can
was
relate
thinking
and
of
I
you.
take that little, I work at Hayes Gym in DeKalb, so I take that little path right where the shooting was, too, and it's kind of scary when it gets home, because we were talking about this with the mayor when he was on with us, that 60% of the calls from police come to 10% of the area in DeKalb, so to hear something like this was a little shocking.
The accused, well, the person of interest has a tattoo below their eye. So I know you have a tattoo below your eye.
That's my teardrop from when I was in prison, yes.
But anyway, this is really early and
Right, yeah, so we can't really delve into this, but
that's was this week.
So what are the comments on, and I saw this on Facebook when they posted it, the guy goes, oh, Suicide Alley. Do you know that it's called that? So you ever heard that?
I do not.
I guess unfortunately, numerous people have taken their lives there on the railroad tracks between those streets, 4th and 6th Street. So they call that Suicide Alley, unfortunately. I know my stepson, who lived in DeKalb his whole life, had lost more than one friend on the train tracks, and unfortunately, one right relatively shortly after the other. Copycats, you hear about that, where somebody takes their lives, and then inevitably a week or two later, somebody does it by the same method. And so that's where I didn't realize that until a gentleman I emailed explained that to me, unfortunately.
I always get confused about 10th Street, TD. It hits Lincoln Highway on the east side of DeKalb, but then does that bend around?
No, it goes all the way straight down to Little John. Mine on a dead-end street, so it ends right there.
It ends at Little John?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going to call my third ward Alderman because, they just redid all their streets, which is great. But all the streets are now higher than our driveway. So the last rain, we had all the water accumulated on the driveway. So I'm calling my Alderman. I'm going to call my Tracy Smith. Get ready. I'm going to call him. So all right. So we'll follow up on Chief Bird on in a week or two. We'll follow up on that.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
What else you got?
A DeKalb felon is facing 8 charges after an incident at Thirsty Liquors, the parking lot there. According to arrest documents, on August 10th, police were called to 1000 North Annie Glidden just before midnight. A lady told police she was leaving the liquor store parking lot in her vehicle when she saw a male on a bicycle brandish a gun. Police then located the accused at a nearby apartment complex on 832 Ridge. Police ordered the male, Elijah Stewart, to speak with them, at which point he jumped on his bicycle and fled. As police were chasing the 20-year-old Stewart, he pedaled into a hedgerow and then fell off the bike. An officer grappled with the 260-pound male.
Oh, my.
When an object fell to the ground, Stewart resisted until backup arrived. Police found a 9mm pistol on the ground. Stewart told police he needed the gun for protection. Stewart was convicted in DeKalb County 6 months ago for possession of cannabis with intent to deliver. Police say Stewart was in their database as a member of the Latin Kings. Stewart is now charged with 5 felonies and 3 misdemeanors, including unlawful possession of a weapon by a street gang member.
Wow. Man, I feel sorry for the bike, 260 pounds. Poor bicycle. But when we talk about that, and Scott, you probably know about this too. Now,
I know about riding a bike at that. I remember Youth Service Bureau. At first, I remember Youth Service Bureau.
Sure. They have that bike auction.
They would have that bike auction.
Yeah.
So I thought the last time I had ridden a bike was when I was like a kid. And so I said, I'll get in shape by riding a bike. So I'll just go to it was on Saturday, you'd go. And so I bought, an old mountain bike. That's what I rode as a kid. And I went to the Cycle Center, what it was called. And they, I asked for new tires and they said, they're just flat, blow them up. And so I thought, just jump on a bike, do 20 miles. Wow, makes a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Riding a mountain bike, it was like
work, yeah.
It's like a lot of work when you're an adult. And then my friends who are, did say like, oh no, you want like thinnest tires possible. So it's little, but when you're a kid, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You race a little. Like, oh yeah, no, you need a road bike. So the surface barely touches.
So how long did we ride said bike for?
I did. There was one summer where I did a kick of bike riding.
Okay.
Now, my current bike is in the state of the YSB bike where it has tires. They're just completely deflated.
Okay.
But it remains in my second bedroom because there's always a chance that I'll,
I know, it's like the clothes that don't fit in the back of the closet. But there's gonna be a having a fit in there.
As soon as I sell that thing, I'm gonna regret it.
But the story, Dan, about the fact that he was a gang member. Now I don't know, how do they prove that? I mean, because I know if you're a gang member, the penalty might be more because you're associated with a gang. Have I had that right? Is that right?
I don't know about their database for that.
Okay.
I mean, when I hear Latin Kings, that's an old gang.
Yeah.
It's been around a while. So there are, these police have, I don't even know how much technology they have at their fingertips.
Right, I know. Well, it's good to know. We have that.
TD's still pressing the news guys. Every fact under the sun. At a moment's notice, you're supposed to, every single thing out, everything in the world.
That's good. Well, it's so great to have Scott Zak with us again. Now, this one you guys might find interesting. You won't be able to watch the Sycamore City Council meetings anytime soon after council members this week rejected a request for one of their own to video record their meetings. Sycamore City Council voted 2-4 against the request for 4th Ward Alderman Ben Bumpus to look into broadcasting Sycamore City Council meetings. Now, are you surprised by that? You guys, Dan, Scott, you didn't have the pleasure of having that on YouTube back then, right? The DeKalb City Council?
No, I remember Brian Adams. Remember?
Oh, Brian Adams, sure.
Yeah, we can now mention competing radio stations. I heard on the terrestrial radio somebody talking about a podcast. Can you imagine like how they were fans of the Joe Rogan podcast? I can't. Can you imagine going on radio, commercial radio, and talking about any audio that existed anywhere else? But we could never talk about Brian Adams because he was the competing radio station.
Right.
But so anyways, I remember.
Well, I should mention everybody, Jason Gregier, he's had me on twice on WNIJ. I'm going to be on next Tuesday, the 19th, to promote Let's Talk Turkey and Freezing for Food. So Jason, great guy, and so wonderful he found a home there in NIJ.
So Brian Adams worked what was then called B95, and we used to cover Sycamore City Council meetings. And Sycamore's, the school district runs their government access channel. And
That's right.
we run the government access channel, but the school district has it there. And they were renewing their contract with Comcast, and they give you some money to run those channels, I think. And so Brian Adams asked Ken Mundy, like, so are we going to put the city council meetings on the government access? Ken said, absolutely not.
Really?
Yeah.
And did he put forth a reason, or just?
In Centralia, it was brought up, and the city manager at the time said, I was in a community where they didn't broadcast it, and then they broadcast it, and all of a sudden the meetings got a whole lot longer. We're pretty good in DeKalb, especially lately. We've been running pretty efficient meetings, but sometimes when you broadcast a meeting, you get a little grandstanding.
Little showboating going on there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You can get it both. They say Newt Gingrich became who he was because of C-SPAN. He could go in the go in the middle of the night. Nobody was there, but C-SPAN exists. There were limited cable channels, and he could just stand up there and give speeches. So that's some of the reluctancy is that you're afraid that you're going to get the meetings will become more political because people are worried about people watching, and I need to make a note on everything. So
Right. I'm going to roll the dice that Brian Adams isn't listening right now, because Scott used to complain he'd sit right behind or right in front of Brian Adams, and he said he could hear him breathing. Because all I could hear was Brian Adams breathing behind me. It was. I had to share that. That was great.
I got a story about Brian Adams.
Oh yeah. Oh.
We were at a place called Molly's in DeKalb.
Sure.
Oh yeah. Me and a sales guy and Brian Adams, and Brian didn't get out much. And these Jägermeister gals were there. They were coming around with their trays.
Jaeger bombs,
with Jaeger shots. And Brian, I think he had one or two pops already. And the gal comes, the buxom gal, and he just grabs a Jaeger shot and says, "Hey, thanks." As if to look over at me and my buddy and say, "Oh, this gal just came up and gave me a shot." I said, "No, you got to pay for those, Brian. That's $4."
Exactly how the system works.
What a great place.
No, Brian. I thought he would not be approachable. He was actually a real talkative guy. Mm-hmm. He was nice, and but he was another.
Yeah, we know when Jerry Smith was on with us last week, and we were talking about the news hole, as he calls it. But Brian Adams and B95, they would do a 95-second newscast. So I mean, they never really delved in.
No, that was during the day, during their music. In the morning, he did.
Oh, did he do? Okay,
yeah, he did. He did conventional newscasts, and this is So you used to have at city council meetings, you would have you have me, Brian Adams, the paper. At one time, you had another reporter for the midweek.
Oh, the midweek, sure. Yeah.
NIJ did stuff, so the next day you could have 5 sources.
We actually had a media section then.
Yeah. And then back then, people would lament that there were only 5 of us. people would talk, and county board, because there used to be more. Go way back. There used to be more.
Newspapers, right? There was one in Sycamore, there was one in DeKalb.
Oh, there was more newspapers, but also radio stations and television stations took their community service, public affairs programming. So Rockford radio stations used to come to the DeKalb County board meetings.
Oh, really?
So I used to have a little DeKalb County board. Oh, yeah, Rockford used to come out, and there'd be 25 reporters, and and now there's. I
was going to bring this up, but of course, Scott, you did the coverage with the shootings on the campus in 2008 at NIU, and tell us about that, because all the big hitters, ABC, CBS, they were all calling you trying to get some information right away, weren't they, from you?
Yeah, and if I ever wrote a book about covering that, that would be the first thing I would put is don't sit on because we were getting calls from Britain, people wanting, and so I'm trying to cover the story, and everybody would run in and say oh, BBC's on, and then they're we'd like to.
So you try to accommodate everybody.
Yeah, and in the meantime, you got your own station to worry about, but us being nice Midwesterners, and then you get on and they realize you had no information because you had been sitting on hold for 10 minutes listening to their commercials. So that
And
was,
much like we see with the police, we see the local police, and then all of a sudden it's the state police, and then the FBI and the CIA come in. We had that with the news, right? Local news, and then all of a sudden state news, and all of a sudden we had people from national news.
yeah, the next morning in Altgeld Hall, which is very large, it's about the size of a gymnasium. And there was, from one, you did like a half circle from one wall all the way out to the other wall. And you had the big boys, Good Morning America, Today.
Wow.
I mean, so that's something I never want to live again.
No, but you did a great job with that too. A very tragic time in our community, but people were looking at you. People were looking at WLBK to see what was going on, and we even had a young gentleman
Who was on campus.
on campus at the time. Yeah. All right, so I didn't mean to digress. What else you got there, Dan? News-wise,
DeKalb City Council approved $83,000 in TIF money for Heartland Bank at you talked about this before, 205 South 4th. This is to pay for utility upgrades and site improvements for the bank's move. The council member said the project will help improve the downtown area and encourage private investment. In addition, Burritoville was granted just over $17,000.
all right.
I ran into Rudy the other day, and he was in a
So
really
did
good
I.
mood.
He was in a very good mood. I went to, so one of the things I do is after the council does stories, I put it on social media, and I went there to take a picture of his restaurant. And he came out and he wanted me to not take it yet because the sign had it.
Now, for folks that know, it's Rudy who now? Rudy?
I can't remember his last name.
I just know him as Rudy.
Okay, you both do. Okay, that's great.
Yeah. And so, yeah, he came outside and, I said, I'm with the city, just taking some photos. He's like, oh, I know. And he told me about all the repairs they're doing. And he's even beyond the repairs that he's done, that he's getting reimbursement for a small part of. He's got other things planned. So he's really excited about the improvement he's doing.
Great.
Really proud of him.
He's ready to compete with Tacoverse. You see the new restaurant
Yes,
Tacoverse?
I've eaten there.
Have you checked it out?
Yeah, the great thing about City Hall being in downtown DeKalb is I get to eat in DeKalb every lunch.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's just kind of do the rotation. I went to Tacoverse with two folks from the police department.
Okay.
They wanted to try it, so
All right, great.
yeah,
All
I'm
right,
a connoisseur of every DeKalb restaurant.
Well, we call that a segue in the business because India, if I'm saying it correctly, India Pizzeria, they're closing their Ottawa location and they're relocating in DeKalb, right where
Eduardo's.
Eduardo's used to be, right? So great to see that space filled. That's been sitting empty for a while, right?
Yeah, and they've redone every inch of that interior space. And I'll give a shout out to our public works department. So that's the wood-fired pizza.
Okay.
So they had to take out part of their wall to get the wood-fired pizza.
Really?
In, yeah.
Wow.
So one day, crews came and masonry crews came, and I think they took out a window. They took out a door, and they still had to take out more bricks around it because the pizza oven comes in one piece. You can't.
Okay.
Probably Adobe or whatever.
Yeah.
And they started to push the pizza oven in, and it hit. There was either between the outside and the inside, either it wasn't even, or there was a space between. So Bill, our city manager, who he's a former builder, he went outside and consulted, brought in Andy, the public works director, and some guys, and they got it in. So that
And we should mention Andy Rye because we mention him occasionally, and everybody just sings that guy's praises. I mean, I've never heard anybody say anything bad about Andy Rye.
yeah, he's great to work with.
That's cool. What a great story then. So, because I just thought it was ready to go. I thought it was a restaurant. Boom, you open the door.
No,
good to go.
wait, if you ever were in Eduardo's, it'll be a
Completely different. Cool.
completely new interior, including this giant pizza oven.
All right. Well, we wish them the best. Dan, what else you got news with?
And by the way, TD, in case you didn't know, Burritoville is a popular late night haunt.
Oh, okay.
So
For TD, that means 8.
our close is at 1:30 or 2. And you want a burrito, you go there,
Okay.
have a burrito. Then you go to the radio station and start writing your newscast.
That's how you do it. Okay.
DeKalb, an Elgin woman is accused of stealing just over $600 in merchandise, according to arrest documents. Back on June 24th at around 7:30 p.m., Sycamore police were called upon to flee. The store manager told police a lady walked out with a car jack, a Bearcat radio, which I think is a CB radio, a battery core charger. The lady then got into a gray SUV that was registered to an Elgin man. A week later, on July 1, Sycamore police encountered the same SUV, this time in the Walgreens parking lot, about a stone's throw away.
Okay.
Police asked the male about the accused female that was riding in the SUV the day of the theft. He told officers her name was Michelle. It was a gal he picked up as he runs a taxi service of some sort.
Sure.
46-year-old Michelle Urbano is now charged with felony retail theft.
So she didn't get nailed at Farm and Fleet.
Now I know
That's
what
not how I meant it.
all those listeners, what their morning drives used to be like. The shaking of the head, the rolling of the eye.
No, but I'm using my news judgment, and I always say to people, if we could just get rid of all the men in the world, 80% of the crime would go away. Maybe 90% of the crime.
I know it's rare to hear a woman.
A female stealing merchandise from a.
I love the merchandise too. It's quite a eclectic array of merchandise she has. A CB radio, you wonder what the hell is she going to do with that?
Yeah, so so this was July. They talked to him. In August is when she was charged.
Okay. All right, pretty good. All right, now we're talking about downtown DeKalb. Now, this is a story here in the Chronicle. Struggling DeKalb art gallery owner has hope for the future. The Jubilee Art Center, or Jubilee Artisan, has gotten all kinds of support. They always say you don't know what they have to it. Scott and I would do it. I would say that a restaurant was closing, and Scott would say, "And when was the last time you ate there?" Like I would say, "Oh, I haven't eaten there in like 3 years." So, but so this case, I don't know. Do you buy art? Have you ever bought art? I've never bought art in my life. Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Like when you and the missus did the house, did you go and buy some art? Or did she pick that out? Or
we're not in that tax bracket.
okay, so you're not even. Scott, you ever buy any art?
No, I always mean to go into Christie's shop, so I gotta. She's very active in the downtown, very active in the art scenes. There's a couple of some arts initiatives that were done a while ago.
We're going to talk about the murals in the city. Yeah,
these were some things even earlier than that that she wants to reinvigorate. She was talking about it at our downtown merchants meeting just this past Tuesday. But she said she was, she loved the outpouring of support since she wrote that social media message. So I encourage people. She's got the big orange canopy on her store right there in the 100 block of downtown DeKalb. She's about to have an art show with NIU students. So
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad she let that know that they were struggling a little bit and give people a chance to step up, and they did. And she's at 128 East Lincoln Highway in DeKalb, if you're looking for that. Thanks for that insight there, Scott. And then, this will be another time, but the DeKalb School District adopted her $155 million tentative budget for the year. Now, Dan and I were talking about last week, I had found some numbers on the school. I thought we were in the black because we had all this bonus money and then we had the COVID money. But of course, we're building a new school, obviously. So I guess we're $111 million in the hole, the DeKalb School District is. But I was surprised to hear numbers like that because it's amazing numbers we're talking about. But I had the lady who's running for office here, I don't know if you guys know her, Veronica Garcia Martinez. She's a teacher over at the DeKalb School District. She said her class size is going to go from 27 to 13. Wow. Can you believe that? With the new school being built. So that alone. But what I said to her is right now we have no excuse, right? We got a brand new school. We got great teachers, all the state-of-the-art equipment in the school. Let's educate these kids, because when you look at the numbers from the reading, writing, and arithmetic, the numbers are atrocious. So
I don't know the school district stuff as well as I used to.
Yeah, but I mean, a brand new school.
Parents got to teach children manners.
Well, there you go. It does get back to that. Yeah.
And kids are. Hey, I was a brat.
Yeah.
Believe me, I was a brat. I didn't listen. I didn't do my homework. I was really good at spitwads. But you have to, kids need parents to grab them by the scruff of the neck and say, look, you're going to need a paycheck when you get older. So you need to study and get a skill set that people are willing to pay for.
Mm-hmm.
Teachers, community, parents, no doubt.
There you go.
And then even the spitball kids, some of them turn out pretty all right. pretty all right. No, seriously, some kids,
Dan was referring to one of the spitball games.
those spitball lynch kids. No, but there's kids, even in my family who, weren't trying as hard. And, they
Not applying themselves. Well, I know that term all too well.
think that's a good thing. So no always lost.
All right, cool. Do you have another story? What do you guys? Are
I
you
just
storied
have
out?
one quick little thing.
All right.
Local state rep Brad Fritz will be in Stewart coming up on August 18th, meeting with constituents. He's from District 74. So these legislative districts in Illinois, they all have fingers, or a lot of them do. I mean, there's a lot of districts stretch in or meet DeKalb County. So Brad Fritz is a local state rep, and he will be there from 6 to 7 p.m. on August 18th in Stewart at the town hall.
All right, very good. Yeah, the Miss Martinez, we were talking to her about the irony of the maps in Texas that they're, Pritzker is allowing these people from Texas to stay here because they want to gerrymander the map, and yet, according to Jeff Kiker, state representative, we have the most gerrymandered map in the entire country. And yet the irony of them saying, come here so they can't gerrymander the map in Texas. What do you feel about that, Scott? Because I know we have the most because the lady interviewed Ms. Martinez, if you look at the 70th district, it's like a big long line. It includes 2 or 3 different counties, and it just doesn't make any sense at all. But that is the way.
The state rep, so Jeff Kiker represents, he kind of moved from DeKalb, Sycamore. He's up in Sycamore, and then
and Pine Green and up by there. And
Amy Burrell, who represents DeKalb, her district covers DeKalb, and then it's like this narrow slip shoots down, and then it covers like the LaSalle, Peru area.
Okay.
So
go figure. But I
not saying good, bad. It's
no, I know, but
it is what it is.
But that's the irony of Pritzker wanting to protect Texas from getting the gerrymandered map, and here we have the most gerrymandered map in the country.
And then was asked about it by Colbert. And
I got to give him credit. Yeah, because they asked him point blank about that, and he weaseled around that somehow. I don't know. But FOIA requests, and it's not just the local people. Department of Justice says the annual FOIA report handbook. Now, this is for 2023. 121 federal agencies were subject to FOIA. The federal government overall received a record 1,199,699 FOIA requests, 29% increase from the increase in 2022. So, Scott, since you've been doing FOIAs in DeKalb, have they increased a lot, or have they increased at all?
They were, when I came in, they were pretty high. I don't think there's been any on the police side. Perhaps I think we've run pretty steady. They're a state mandate, so there's no point in really pulling your hair about increases or whatnot. You got to do them.
We got to do them. Right.
You got to do them. So,
but it must be hard to allot like your time, for instance, because you don't know how many you're going to get, right? On any given month.
Yeah, and some take a very short amount of time. Some take a lot amount of time, but they do come kind of in waves. So when you're busy with FOIA, other times you're not, and you can work on. That's when I can work more. Work on grants or grants for murals or something with the Environmental Commission or something for the website, even feature on the website. So in those abs, I can fill them with other stuff. Yeah.
And you have up to 5 days to fulfill the FOIA request, but I see also there's revision you can extend it another 5 days if need be, right?
Yeah, there's certain reasons why you can take another 5 days. We like to get them done in 5 days. Most are done in 5 days. But if it's a long one or if it's complicated, we're entitled to another 5 days.
Okay. Let's just quickly go through the process, because you've FOIA'd before, haven't you, Dan?
Yeah.
Kind of a personal question, I know.
But some places I've had to pay.
Oh, that's what I was going to get to. That's at the bottom here. But so you submit a request, right, Scott, to the City of DeKalb FOIA Center. So there's a FOIA Center in DeKalb.
Yeah, you can. You don't have to use it. It's on our online portal. It's very easy. If you do the online portal, it sends you an email when your FOIA is done. You click a link, and all your files are there to be viewed or downloaded. So it's an option, and it helps us streamline the process. So you enter a request in the FOIA portal.
It says be specific now. So was that people too general when they do that? You
yeah, and then we'll follow up on them, and try to, because even if something's general, you probably based on several in the past, you kind of know. I bet this is what they're looking for. You see, write it back and say, "Is this what you're looking
Okay, all right, yeah, because be specific, include necessary information. In other words, my address, my email. How are you going to get the stuff back to me, right?
Yeah, all we need is your name and your email address, really.
Now, I was asking off the air, Dan, you said you had to pay for it before. It says in this one, the cost, be aware that there may be fees for reproduction of records and postage cost if requested by mail. But so
Yeah, so for the most part, FOIA is free. If you want paper copies, which few people want paper copies anymore, it's just the actual cost of the reproduction to beyond 50 pages.
Okay.
And this is becoming less and less because of the advancements in cloud technology and people's familiarity with cloud technology. If we have to put something on a thumb drive, you pay for the cost of the thumb drive or the cost of the CD. But FOIA does provide some when you're talking about trying to keep things under manageable. It can get to something that's called voluminous. And then in those instances, if let's say you're just doing a fishing expedition for emails and they go beyond 500 pages, we can say, okay, this is going to be 1,500 pages, and then based on the size of that, there's a fee. But before you're charged a fee, you're given an opportunity to reduce it below 500 pages.
I see. All right, very good. So let's just now, like the city council meetings, we were talking about, they are on TV too, but then there's also minutes, right? Because we talked about the city clerk and doing that, not the city clerk anymore. But so we can get those anytime we want, right?
Yeah, that's one of the advantages of the website is people don't have to FOIA to get the minutes of city council, past agendas, the ordinances, and whatnot. Unfortunately, the websites, it's not the solution to FOIA that people think it is. A lot of times people don't look on the website first, so you still got to do a request.
Right.
You can send them a link, but there's time involved. Or FOIA says that you have to provide the file format that they want. So we can have it on our website in a certain FOIA, but they ask for it in Excel instead of PDF, so you have to do it anyway. So
they say
just putting stuff online is not the be-all, end-all.
Okay.
Because there's some people who say like, oh, well, we wouldn't even have to have FOIA. If the city would just go ahead and stick everything online. Well, if you ask for one specification, the whole system gets blown up. And then the other thing is exemption. So you would think, so you have to give somebody 1,500 pages of email. Just send them the 15. You have to read all 1,500 pages of the email because, you might tell your alderman, something sensitive about your family that shouldn't just go out to everybody.
Oh my gosh, really?
So since that might be in there, so that would be called a personal exemption. If you told your, alderman, my wife is sick there's no reason, unless that has to do with city business.
So you would just
redact that as a personal thing, but what does that require? That now if you're going to, you want to protect people's personal information, that requires going through all of,
oh my God. Stop the world I want to get off.
So that's where it becomes complicated. Some people say, well, if the city just put all of its emails online, we could avoid that. Well, let's say somebody wanted to prove they paid something and they sent as an attachment to an email a check. That's your routing number, your account information, and they can clear you out.
But now, right now, I can request any email from from one government agency to another in DeKalb. I could request that email?
Yeah, it doesn't need to be between governments. It could be my emails to Dan.
Is that right?
Want to hear,
Wow, interesting. All right, well, we thank you for clarifying that for us, Scott. We appreciate that.
Texting, Scott, that's from a city-issued phone.
Nope, it's Rahm Emanuel I think that's where it kind of came about. He was trying to use his personal cell phone, texting by personal cell phone. So now that doesn't mean that you're entitled to everything on my cell phone. But if I'm doing city business on my personal cell phone, yes, I would have to turn that over.
Okay, wow, fascinating. Now, sports kind of quiet right now. We get ready for the high school football season to begin. And of course, last week we talked about the former NIU player with the dog fighting. We'll leave that alone. But speaking of dogs, I was researching Scott Zak online, and I did not know you were a director over the Tails Humane Society.
Not the director.
What? Oh, that's it right there. Scott Zak, director.
Oh, I'm on the board of directors.
You're on the board of directors at the Tails Humane. And our friend Allie, who used to work with us.
She's the volunteer coordinator, yeah.
Yes, and so tell us about your time at the Tails. Why'd you jump in there?
They were in need of board members, and it was suggested to me that if I like dogs, that I come and help with the board.
And you had Pooh Bear, of course.
I had Nala Bear and Daisy Bell. No, Daisy Bell is my dog, my brother's dog.
Okay.
And Bell Bear and Nala Bear.
Well, that's great that you're doing this. So what does that entail? A monthly meeting? And,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Occasionally there's things outside it, but we just help, we help with oversight, when there's big issues coming up, the executive director leans on us to help provide guidance. But Michelle, who's the director over there, she's got, and the staff there they run a pretty tight shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, kudos for you. That's awesome.
So,
now, Dan, you said you don't have a pet. Have the kids been hounding you, no pun intended, for maybe getting a dog?
Here and there, yeah. Like my son Joseph had to dog sit a neighbor's dog recently. But a dog is a lot of work.
Oh, yes.
And the vet bills kind of scare me, actually.
Well, that is frightening. Because my dog just turned 15 and she's getting hurt a little bit there. And I told Becky, we're not going to, I don't want to be cruel, but we're not going to spend a lot of money, for hip goes out or. Years ago, when I lived with my sister, her dog had to have hip replacement surgery to the tune of $1,800, and the dog was like 12. Like, Mary, you're not going to do this, and she's didn't hesitate for a moment to do it. So I guess you have the money. I say this now, and probably when push comes to shove, I probably will pay for whatever. But it is sad when you get the.
Yeah, when Belle, my last dog, she had fallen getting out of a lake once, and she fell going downstairs once, so she might have had a back injury. We were playing playing fetch, and she was running to get a ball, and she squealed, and it was her back. Something slipped in her back, and so we took her to the vet, and we can do something. It's going to cost you $2,000.
Right.
It's going to cost you $2,000, and a lot of. It's really hard because they can do a lot with veterinary care, but it's going to be a lot of. And basically, what it came down to with my mom is. Even if she recovers or in the interim, it's not going to be the same dog. It's going to be, it's not going to, that healing process.
Yeah, it's the quality of life. You're right.
But it's a hard thing. I would love to I've thought to myself before, I'll just adopt senior dogs.
Right.
That'd be great. And I can have it but then it's the end of life.
It's just too brutal.
I mean, there's the end of life, but then there's also just getting there. Something goes wrong with the dog, and you have to take the dog in, and there's a vet.
Right.
So there's a lot of costs at the end. So.
All right, very well put. All right, let's talk about murals now. They heard an article back in November. The utility box murals completed throughout downtown DeKalb. We have a lot done already, don't we, Scott?
Yeah. So utility box murals. We just sent in for printing our 4th round. We've done 3 rounds for that. In downtown DeKalb. Originally, for the first round, people created, one-of-a-kind digital art, like through Adobe Illustrator or, Photoshop.
Okay.
Just, made custom for the utility box. Then we decided what we could do is we could ask people to, all the local artists who do paintings, we could ask them, since cameras are getting so good, and cell phone cameras, we can actually just do some nice lighting, put your painting in front of it, and send us a photograph, digital photograph of your painting, and then we will use that. We'll use that to put it on to put it onto a utility box. It's made into a vinyl wrap, and they just stick it to it.
Oh, so they're not painting the utility box itself?
No.
I've never seen anybody else painting there.
No, so they're vinyl wraps. So we take people's existing paintings, turn them into vinyl wraps, and kind of make these little pop-up murals. The first 3 rounds were in downtown.
That's what you were doing in the 90s, wasn't it? The vinyl wraps? Scott had a brief history doing vinyl wraps.
I did vinyl wrapping, underground clubs. But we just did our 4th round, and these are going to extend outside DeKalb. We got one by DeKalb High School. 2, one on the walk to DeKalb High School, one at NIU, one here that's going to be at First at Hillcrest, another at First and Pine.
It's weird to see them all together. The mural at City Hall, the DeKalb Veterans mural overlooking Van Buren Plaza,
so those
Husky Pride mural.
Yeah, those are actually like big murals.
Yeah, these are just smaller. Right.
These are just little, and then so for this 5th one, all of the artists are DeKalb painters, and so their works will be featured. And but yes, and then the other thing, one of our other initiatives is big, large murals.
Yeah, because look at some places where you can paint. DeKalb Airport hangars, Market Street division there, a big building there. the Water Division Building, the Cold Storage Building on Market Street,
Yeah, so
Barb City Manor. So these are all places that can be painted, huh?
Yeah, if you go to the city's website, those are the buildings that are owned by the city of DeKalb that would make, if you have an idea, that would make a good spot for a mural. The most, when we kind of really started this mural initiative, or two of the biggest ones, took up two of the city-owned properties. One was the Chicagoans know it as a viaduct. On Annie Glidden Road.
With the Huskies there, huh?
The railroad underpass where we worked with Northern to do
people love that. For everything I hear, people love that.
Yeah. People, it's great for the NIU students that are coming in. That, it really is kind of a great gateway. Mm-hmm. And so we did that. And then the other one we did was the Belonging mural, which is a mosaic mural on the back of City Hall. And
gorgeous.
That took like a year of community members coming in, working with Danielle Casali, who was the artist. They actually worked in the basement of the library and had to take all the glass and cut it up first.
Amazing.
And then take the glue and put it. And just today, so that's 2 years old, and just today, as I was going into City Hall before I came over, there were some guys just walking through downtown DeKalb, stopped, taking pictures on a cell phone of the mural. So
is that mural holding up okay? Is it with all the weather?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
I'm glad that the next generation of City Hall employees, when that does need to come off, the amount of glue we use. It's going to take a cleanup job, but hopefully that won't be for 20 or 30 years. So, but people are definitely enjoying it in the meantime.
I love it. I want to mention a couple things. We just did our first suicide prevention show last week here on the podcast. And remind us, the Student Art Show, Canvas of Courage. This art show is meant to open a conversation about suicide prevention among students and young individuals. The grand opening is Sunday, September 1st at the Egyptian Theater. So go out there and check that out. Just a great, great event that they're having. And also the second annual Cornhole for a Cause tournament is going to be at the pub in Hinckley, Illinois. In honor of Suicide Awareness Month, we're having their second annual Cornhole for a Cause tournament. Warm-ups at 11, bags fly at noon there. So check that out there. That's Brown Pub at Hinckley there. So wanted to get that in there for sure. And I also see young man Genoa Kingston High School. I thought of both of you guys here when I see the Genoa Kingston High Schooler recently attended a National Journalism Conference in Washington, D.C., part of a program again to inspire future media professionals and young leaders. Did you guys do anything like that, or why'd you get in the news, Dan? What made you get it? Well, you weren't news per se, were you?
Well, not my whole career, but I grew up watching the news.
Did you? Did you read the paper as a kid? I never read the paper as a kid.
I did. My parents got the Tribune. A lot of sports, everybody likes sports. But I would watch television news. My dad always listened to WBBM. And I don't know, I enjoyed it. Radio was preferable. It was a little more edgy. Or TV was a little more phony.
Yeah.
Or a little more buttoned up. So I was just kind of I grew up in the 80s. You'd come home, my parents are both working, and I just watched the news.
Really?
And that's how I got into it.
Scott, you too? Or?
Very similar. I got into TV when I was in college, but for the same reason that as far as jobs, the only real jobs in TV, there's some very, late night talk shows and those don't really exist anymore, but,
right.
they're, where you get to kind of be yourself. But for the most part, most of the jobs in television are doing TV news. So I went into radio because, I was more interested in, like you mentioned, BBM. I was more into the talk stuff.
Right.
And so I thought there was more of a chance to be less buttoned up on radio. So I went into radio. Then kind of reverse thinking, I said, well, to get into radio, I can do radio news and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But I think, I got to do some of the talk show stuff at LPK. There was plenty of time for that as well. So.
Yeah, very cool. So we'd like to do the obits like we used to do on the station now. I want to mention John Joseph Bud McCabe. John was a he was in the Korean War, which a lot of people forget. That was just as important in World War II. He was a Moose Lodge member, a Knights of Columbus member, also a fireman at Genoa Kingston Fire Department, as well as a crossing guard for DeKalb and Genoa Police Department. So kudos to you, John, and have a safe time in heaven there. And I also want to mention Bernadette Milan, who lived to be 96 years old of DeKalb. She was get this, you guys. She was a Civil Air Patroller in high school, where she was trained to spot enemy aircraft in case of an invasion during World War II. or devout patriotism in the country continued throughout our lifetime. So we were worried back then that we had people on civilian patrol looking for planes coming over. So thank God it never came to that. She was married for 59 and a half years to Joe. She was an avid recycler. Way before Bloom Bins, she also looked for ways to help the family can recycle and repurpose items as a daily routine. She was a DeKalb Nursing and Rehabilitation Center volunteer, member of the auxiliary for 30 plus years. Little peddler gift shop she had for 30 years, and Joe and her delivered Meals on Wheels, as well as working part-time for State Farm Insurance. So again, we talk about just summarizing somebody's life in a couple paragraphs, but an amazing lady and lived to be 96 years old. So as we do it, I don't need to tell the guy sitting next to me, we do the news quiz. And of course, now, of course, it's the news podcast quiz. And Dan, you're probably anxious to know what they're going to win.
T-Bone, what are you giving away?
Well, funny you should ask, because we happen to have two, not one, count them, but two gift certificates of Pizza Villa, pizza, pasta, sandwiches, and all the wonderful food. I just saw John there last night, as a matter of fact. Plus, nobody won last week, so for the second week, we're going to offer when you play the radio news podcast program. What do you got there, Dan?
Well, this is pretty straightforward. DeKalb City Council approved $83,000 in TIF funding for a bank in DeKalb. What's the name of the bank?
All right, if you know the name of the bank, contact me, TD Ryan, at tdryan2001@yahoo.com. Again, two gift certificates to Pizza Villa and the illustrated barn book, tdryan2001@yahoo.com. If you can answer who did what to?
DeKalb City Council approved. A bank is moving.
All right, what bank is moving? 748.
And they're getting $83,000 to help pay for their site improvements and utility upgrades.
And we want, of course, we do this date, our birthdays and anniversaries. We want to wish happy anniversary to Brandy and Nathan Reynolds, celebrating their birthday anniversary on the 15th. Madeline DeVito of Sycamore does a great job there with the car show. She's celebrating on the 15th. Kinko Smith. Do you guys know Kinko Smith?
That sounds like a coolest name on the birthday.
Who's that supposed to be? Weisenheimer. Liv's doing it as a birthday on the 16th, and Brett Weaver will have a birthday on the 17th. So happy
Are you
anniversary.
still doing the coolest name at the end?
No, I wish we were, but I have to come up with that because that would have been the coolest name on the birthday.
Definitely a nominee for on the birthday list. Did you do it while you were there? Oh,
Do I sound like that? Yeah, I hope I don't sound like that.
me and Jason Credier love to do our TD Ryan, but yeah, that would we do birthdays, and then throughout the week he would say, "Oh, that's going to be a nominee." I think they're all the king. Stay on the birthday list.
All right,
When TD would go on vacation, would you fill in, be the lead, the host?
Yes, exactly. And so, it early on, and I said,
he wasn't
so
having
then
that.
yes, very early on, and I remember. So he'd be gone for a week, and then it's Friday, and you're exhausted, and then you'd realize at 7:45 or 8:45, you had to go through all the old birthdays and circle nominees and
That was important.
and then pick the coolest name on the birthday list. Then you had to find this. Then you had to find the sound effects, and you had to think like he did. How the heck did TD Ryan name these sound effects? Oh, it's just and so you
Oh, my.
All right, that's a cool name. That's a cool name. Let the gnome throughout the kingdom.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was such a problem. I don't know. All right. And our friends at the DeKalb County History Center are kind enough every week they send us over this week in history in addition to what you see in the midweek. So again, if you're looking for a cool place to bring the kids or just yourself, go to the DeKalb County History Center. Look up all the stuff at DeKalbCountyHistoryCenter.org. And I want to thank Michelle for sending this over. And we have that the Northern Illinois State Teachers College, this is from 1950, I believe it is. First Olympic athlete, Leroy Davidson, earned a place in the 1940 U.S. Olympic team as a middleweight boxer. World War II caused the cancellation of the 1940, I didn't know, 1940 and the 44 Olympics were canceled. Well, obviously they would have, and the war is still going on in 44. So Jesse Owens won all his stuff in 1936 when he stuck it to Hitler. The DeKalb man flew bombing runs into Germany early in the war and then was shot down and wounded in the South Pacific. Now get this, he survived alone in the jungle for over a month and returned home a war hero, ultimately graduating from NIU in 1946. How cool is that? So a real hero there. So we think, and that, again, that gentleman's name was Leroy Davidson, who fought for us there. I want to mention this one here. This is in the midweek here, because they just redid our street on 10th Street, and they did, the paving is great, but we have no curbs. The curbs are all gone now. And this is from 1925. With a short time, the work of cutting the curbing at North First Street and Vine Street will be completed as the city workmen are engaged on the task at the present time. First Street and Augusta Avenue were done last fall. So apparently the curbs have been an issue for 100 years. And I thought about this one, talking about politically incorrect. Several people standing at 4th Street Railroad crossing yesterday in DeKalb with an excursion trip taken by a group of bums. The train, not very long, had 16 hobos as passengers. They may have been more on the train, but those making the count didn't see more than 16. It's thought to be the largest number of hobos on a flight ever recorded. The train was headed west, and the bums were no doubt on their way to harvest fields and mining camps. So that's what you point out. They were on their way to work, right? I mean, hobos were just basically looking for work.
So a hobo is one who hitches a ride on it?
Yeah, on the train, yeah. Yeah, well, there's a whole hobo convention they have every year, and the hobo of the year. Dan, I think, Scott, you attended there a couple of years, didn't you, the hobo convention?
When I covered Centralia's 150th, they're a big railroad town, and their 150th anniversary of the town, they had a hobo stew.
Oh, I was kidding. You're serious, yeah?
And I take this, I'm actually reading about people riding the train. There's a book called The Lincoln Highway. And so I'm reading it ahead because we're going to do we just applied for a big grant.
Okay.
We hope to do a new Lincoln Highway mural on the corner of 7th and Lincoln Highway where there had been a smaller mural that fell.
Yeah,
We hope to replace that with a much bigger and grander one. And so if you are interested in railroad culture, there's some railroad riding and the Lincoln Highway, which was a big book. I wish I knew. The Gentleman in Moscow was his big book. Last name starts with T. Anyways, there's a book about the Lincoln Highway. It's a pretty quick read. I bought it for $2 here at the used book sale here at the DeKalb Library.
And finally, I want to mention in 1950, registration for firearm safety school began by the DeKalb Police Department and continuing to come in 30 enrolled in this morning. Now, instructors in the proper use of shotguns at all gauges, 22 rifles were given by agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation at the range, DeKalb Police. Enrollment is still being accepted at DeKalb Police Station. There will be two groups, one for ages 13 to 17 and boys 17 and older. I bring this up because when Scott did the fireman training, he got an official fireman's hat, which I'm still bitter, and I got a little State Farm plastic fireman's hat. Right? So,
yeah, you
still got that fireman hat?
I gave it to my nephew.
Oh, you gave it to your nephew. All right, okay.
But you'd be very jealous of me these days. I get to do lots of stuff with the fire department.
Oh, man.
Today I was taking, we had just got a new, what you amateurs would call a ladder truck. It's actually a platform truck, this model of it.
We had Chief Thomas on talking about that at $1.6 million. I know how much it costs. How about that? The platform truck is $1.6 million.
Oh, yeah, not 6 million. Yeah. But we discovered a great way to fund some of this stuff. It's called GEMT. If you want to look into it. So
all right.
We're taking advantage of some funding, but I got to take a picture of the new platform truck along with two other Rosenhauer manufactured engines. Do you know the difference between a truck and an engine?
I know.
Yes.
We don't have time.
What are you rushing like it's the top of the hour?
Well, we're
podcast.
This is the longest podcast I've ever done, so you should be proud of that, Scott Zak. I was trying to keep it under an hour. We're at about 56 minutes.
You have to hit your post. You got to play the legal ID in a podcast.
I have no hard breaks at all. I want to thank my nephew Ethan Davis for making this happen. I don't know how to do all this stuff and the podcasting and the whatnot, and all our wonderful sponsors as well. But Scott, you especially. I mean, this is like having my two ex-wives here right now. But two guys dedicated to news. It's been such a pleasure working with you guys through the years, and just want to thank you, Scott, for taking time to visit with us.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
Can we have you back? Maybe talk some more about the murals and.
Sure. I just scratched the surface. We're doing a lot of cool stuff at the city. So.
And it sounds like a lot of cool stuff coming up, and not too just in the future.
There's a box at Locust and First, maybe near FNBO.
Okay.
Looks like an owl.
Yes, the owl's very popular.
It's very striking.
Yes.
When you see this.
All right.
Yeah.
So I guess I should ask, who did the owl?
His name is on the side of his box. His name is Ron Livingston.
Okay.
If you go to the city's Facebook page, you can see a photo of him. He was very proud to take his photo next to his owl. And I was proud to take the photo of him. And,
that's great.
Yeah. And so that was one of a big success out of that program.
Awesome. Well, again, this has been like Old Home Week here. Again, this has been News Podcast, TD Ryan Unleashed number 11. Thanks for joining us. TD Ryan Unleashed is brought to you by Scott Zak, your State Farm insurance agent. Scott can help you save money bundling your home and auto insurance. Call 815-748-3101 or stop by at 2587 Sycamore Road, Suite D in DeKalb. Like a good neighbor, Scott Zak and State Farm are there. Pizza Villa, pizza, pasta, sandwiches, and more at 824 West Lincoln Highway in DeKalb. For delivery or pickup, call 815-758-8116 or go to pizzavilla.com. My Insurance Guys in Sycamore, family owned, local, reliable. My Insurance Guys cover Medicare to auto and everything in between. Call us in Sycamore at 815-899-0950. My Insurance Guy, business, auto, home, life, and health at myinsuranceguy.com. And Elder Care Services of DeKalb County, safe, secure, and supported, helping you stay at home where you want to be. Call 815-758-6550 or stop in at 1701 East Lincoln Highway in DeKalb or on the web at ecsdecalb.org.